Hello again, Knights fans, and welcome to the Stratish Lounge overlooking the arena floor here in the Rothman Center. Coach, your team's about to practice, but you decided to stop here and talk to us for a couple of minutes. Longest road trip of the season, you split, 12-point win at St. Francis, and then a loss at Robert Morris on Saturday.
Right.
What'd you think of the trip overall?
I think 90% of the trip is awesome. We have the thing that gets lost in college basketball are the kids and their lack of a break. And this break is hard, but there's no one on campus. There's not a great deal of things to do, although yesterday we went bowling, which was probably the best experience I've had since I've been at Fairleigh Dickinson. I've never laughed harder in my life. So, but to give these kids credit for being together and working and lifting and just staying focused. And as I said, 90% of that trip was just tremendous. Not only the win at St. Francis, but how we conduct ourselves on the road. And then we're in a position to beat Robert Morris, and we don't do it, which shows that we're just not ready to do it. If we were good enough and ready enough, we would have done it. But Robert Morris on their building, and that was a desperate situation they were in. They needed to win that game just to reaffirm who they are, and they're very, very good. They had a tough loss against Mount St. Mary's, and we just didn't handle the zone well enough. We didn't handle the ball well enough. We didn't guard well enough, and consequently, we lost the basketball game. But I think if you ask any coach in the league, if you go out there on that trip and split, as well as our women did the same thing, they beat Robert Morris, but then lost in the second game. That second game's tough, and that's not an excuse. It's just a fact. But I'm really proud of what our team did. I was just a little bit unhappy about, obviously, how the game finished at Robert Morris, but we didn't play well enough to win, and that's what happens. But we're 2-1 on the road and 2-1 at home, and I think we spoke in our earlier shows that our team's games, it travels well. We play the same kind of basketball no matter what building we're in, and so to be 4-2 right now and playing 666 basketball is nothing to be ashamed of.
Now, Coach, you're obviously off to a good start in conference. Let's talk a little bit about that St. Francis game. Something that's kind of developed a little bit of a trend where you're generally even or even trailing with your opponents after 3 to 4 minutes,
right,
and then something clicks with your team, and you kind of explode on a massive run that sets you apart, generally by 20 points. You had 3 straight games where you're up by 20 points in the first half.
Right.
At St. Francis, it was Marcus Towns who did that.
Yes.
What is going on with your team that this kind of event happens every game?
Well, I think when you have a multitude of players that can score, then that can happen. If you rely on one player, like last year the Knicks relied on Carmelo Anthony, and it's easy to guard you. But this year now with Porzingis and all the other players that they've acquired, it's harder to guard the Knicks. And it's the same thing with our team. Our players, we had a good matchup with Marcus the other night, so we went to him at St. Francis. Some other games, Earl Potts, a real tough cover. Darian Anderson through this stretch hasn't been playing great basketball, but he's still a really a player that our opponents have to hunt down and guard. So I think our depth and our quickness and the ability to get the ball to the basket, but also our ability to guard. We've been guarding really well in the first halves of games, and on that trip we gave up 59 points and 64 points to Robert Morris. So if we're holding people in the low 60s, you would think we might have won 2 games out there, but offensively we didn't play well enough, against Robert Morris. But I think depth and now confidence. Now these guys are winning basketball games, and to have 3 games in the first half and 2 of them to be on the road and be up to 24 points in the first half in a conference game is unheard of. But I like it. I'll tell you that much.
Now, you mentioned the defense. At St. Francis, the 25 points in the first half and the 59 total points were both season lows for your teams as far as points allowed.
Right.
The shooting percentage for the Red Flash was also a season low in terms of shooting percentage allowed.
Right.
Is there anything different that you've seen in your team that has helped the defense improve?
I just think now that there's no school going on, so we have a lot of time to really break down. We can score the ball, but we're really working hard on defense. On a daily basis. Our coaches right now behind us are doing that. We call them combo drills, where we work on specific defensive aspects on a daily basis, walkthroughs, watching tape. So I just think, we're developing a defensive chemistry and a defensive toughness, and we have a long way to go. But, at Sacred Heart, we were really good in that first half until Falzone made two threes late, and And then the same thing against Central. If you think about it, at the buzzer, they made a 3 to get to 32 points, so they would have been 29. And against Robert Morris, they had 26 points, and the kid banked in the shot at the buzzer, which turned out to be a huge 3 points. So we're getting better defensively because we're working harder at it. Our players are committed to it, but we still have a ways to go.
All right, let's look ahead. Thursday night, you have 3-3 LIU Brooklyn coming into the Stratus Arena, and then on Saturday, Mount St. Mary's, who's in first place right now, comes a tough 2-game stretch, actually 3-game stretch when you look ahead to playing St. Francis again next Thursday. But let's not get too far ahead. What do you expect at LIU on Thursday night?
You're getting too far ahead. No, yeah, you can't in this league because it's just like I had Fran McCaffrey on my show yesterday. We taped it, and in the Big Ten or any league in the Northeast Conference, you just have to take one games, and it sounds so coach-like, but it's the truth. So you can't, because if you get caught up in that, you'll be in a spin cycle quickly. So we're looking at LIU, who's a really, really talented team. 2 transfers in Frink and Santil. Hermanson's a really good player. They got the Hernandez kid right from here in Teaneck. So and Jack is a really, really good coach. So it's a game where we're going to have to play. We have it on the board every game. We have to play their players and win one-on-one battles. So right now, Frink he's an issue for everybody in this league, and we're going to have to contain him. And Santil's a really good guard, and Hermanson's a really smart player. So it's going to be a battle. But I think as you go on now, we have 12 games left in our regular season conference play. There's not a game on the schedule that, and if you do think you're going to win the game, guess what? That's when you get burnt. But we respect LIU. We respect Mount. Only has 1 loss. We're a game behind them. And but our goals here are very simple, man. We have to get back to the conference tournament, but we want a home game, and we want to win the whole thing, and that's how we approach it, even with the youth on our team. I think if you don't give them something to play for, then they won't play as hard for you. And but we're excited about one game at a time, and happens to be the LIU Blackbirds.
All right, Coach, thank you for joining us.